We're going to review some of the basic vocabulary as well as the problems that you were asked to do in order to prepare for your test. So the first thing in the review you were asked to do was to identify each of these genotypes, the letters, as either homozygous or heterozygous. Remember, homozygous means they're the same, so either too big or too little. Heterozygous means they're different. So that's the first thing you needed to do. If you said they're the same, then you needed to tell me a capital D for dominant or capital, doesn't matter about capital, sorry, or an R for recessive. So this first one is big B, little b. They're different. So they're going to be heterozygous. A lot of you put a capital D behind that, which is fine. That's just implied, though, if it's heterozygous based on Mendel's rules. The capital letter stands for the dominant or the expressed one. Now, little d, they're the same. So you have to have homozygous. Because they're little letters, you needed to put an R behind it for recessive. Little e, same thing. They're the same and they're little, so it's homozygous recessive. Big G, little g, they're different, so it's heterozygous. Again, it's going to have the dominant trait because that's what's expressed. It does the talking, and the little one is silent or not expressed. And finally, big Y, little y, that's also heterozygous. In the second section, you were given genotypes, the letters, and some information for each one, and you were asked to give the phenotype. So it says green peas are dominant to yellow peas. And so big G, that's going to show the dominant phenotype. Big G, little g, again, according to the law of dominance, that's going to show the dominant phenotype. So the big G does the talking. And then little g, it tells you it stands for yellow. So little g is yellow. And the next one, it tells you that purple flowers are dominant to white. So the capital P is purple. I already gave you the heterozygous, and little p would be white. In the last example, it tells you black eyes are dominant to red eyes. And so capital B is going to be black. Capital B, lowercase b is also going to be black. And little b will be red. In the last section, you were asked to give me the genotype, the letters, if I give you the description or the phenotype. So the first problem says black fur is dominant to brown fur. So again, it's the genotype's going to be big B. If I tell you for homozygous, if it tell you that it's heterozygous, they should be different. This is big B, little b. And then if I tell you that the animal has brown fur, again, that's homozygous. The only way you can have that is if there's two little letters. In the second example, it tells you yellow seeds are dominant to green. So capital Y will be the genotype that goes with homozygous for yellow. I already gave you the heterozygous as an example. And then finally, the green, the only way you can see the recessive trait is if the genotype are two little letters. So hopefully this practice then sets you up for putting together your Punnett squares. This would be a good time for you to pause the video and open up practice C like you see here, and then hit play when you're ready and have this set up next to the Edpuzzle. In this example, you were asked to complete some Punnett squares after I did some examples for you and went over some basic terminology again, heterozygous, homozygous, dominant, recessive, genotype, and phenotype. So for your first example on slide 1, you were asked at the end of the video to label your homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive parents. And so, homozygous means same. Dominant means two big letters then. Homozygous recessive is going to be the same, but two little letters. The phenotype is asking for what does that look like. So you're going to have a green parent with a yellow parent. And then you're going to take each of those letters and put them in the Punnett square. And you find that all of your offspring are big G, little g. So you're going to have 100% or all big G, little g, and all are green. This is where a lot of you messed up, where you wouldn't tell me a number or percentage in front